Thank you for joining us for another episode of Cryptocurrent. Just one quick reminder. Cryptocurrent is a cryptocurrency and blockchain education platform that's bridging the gap between the curious newcomers who are just discovering the space and the thought leaders who are shaping its future. All opinions expressed by Richard Carthon, the Cryptocurrent team, and their guests on this show are exclusively their own opinions. You should not treat any opinion expressed by Richard, the team, and their guests as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or to follow as financial advice. This show and any other Cryptocurrent production is exclusively for informational purposes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cryptocurrent. Your host here, Richard Carthon. And today I have a very special guest all the way out in Geneva, Switzerland, working on a really cool gaming project. We have Shaban, who is the founder of EverdreamSoft. How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you coming on the show. And first, want to learn a little bit more about you. Can you give us a little background on yourself?
So I'm founder of EverdreamSoft. So I started the company right after my university study. But before that, I always liked to develop game, and I learned programming on my own because I wanted to be able to put to make my dreams or what I see a reality. So I learned programming when I was high school and even before. And I started with the first game before my university studies, a trading card game that I did on the web in early 2000s. And then after that, after my university studies, I decided to take this game that I did and port it to mobile. It was the very beginning of the iPhone, and that was an opportunity. So I thought I will take this game and make a professional living out of this project, taking advantage of the opportunity that were coming with the mobile. Then after that, I in 2010 started EverdreamSoft with our first title, Moonga. That was a trading card game for those who are familiar. It's a bit like Hearthstone, strategic card game. And it was very early. There was very few mobile game at that time. And the space was very fascinating. And the space is mobile gaming because there was innovation, like cool things popping up every day. You would have news, new feature, new technologies. That was early 2010, and moved all along with this first title before. Getting bored with the mobile gaming that was then become a mature market with a lot of people, a lot of content. So then I decided to move on something else.
Got it. Okay, so you finish university, get really excited about building your dreams into reality. I'm doing that a lot through the gaming system. So you are building these games through your company, EverdreamSoft. But what was that first introduction into cryptocurrency? Like, how did you first hear about it? And then what made you want to bridge this new innovation with EverdreamSoft?
So first I heard of Bitcoin was around 2012, a little bit before Moonga crashed, the infamous Moonga crashed. I read some news, like tech news, like I do often, and they were talking about this thing called Bitcoin that you could mine. That was a bit strange, but okay. I thought, okay. And it was a price of $100. And I thought I should get some. And then it was complicated. I forgot. And then I read another news like, wow, Bitcoin went from 100 to 200. And I thought, oh, I missed that. I missed that. So I should really do something this time. So I went to get my first Bitcoin. And so it was very speculative at the beginning, just writing on the price. Then I started learning about it, and it was very fascinating. I thought that's the future. That's really a game changer. It's not only a tech, it's something much bigger. And every day I could learn something new, see new projects, ideas popping out of blockchain. At that time, you have to figure out that there was no Ethereum or something alike. It was really about a cryptocurrency token and creation of currencies. And at that time, there was some project called Colored Coin, and the idea behind Colored Coin is that you could use Bitcoin to create some sub-currency. So basically, you take a Bitcoin and you say, okay, this flag as, I don't know, my own currency. And then when I trade this Bitcoin, I actually trading something else behind. So not only the Bitcoin, but also some other flagged or colored coin in a sense. Then Counterparty came, and I was fascinated because it has the same property idea as Colored Coin, but there was an exchange, a DEX integrated into the protocol. So basically, you could create your currency, calling it Shaban, for example, or whatever name you want, saying, okay, it has this amount of supply, and you could just have it created, and you could start exchanging it, trading for one currency to another currency. So I thought, okay, so we have this first game, Moonga, and we noticed that people are exchanging cards, game cards, exchanging cards for real money under the table. And it had monetary value, but you couldn't really trade inside the game themselves because it brings a lot of other problems. Because if you are custodian of people value, that would be the cards, you cannot allow that to have a monetary value, because then you need to be a bank. And then people will call the support and ask for reversing transaction or whatsoever. So I thought, what if we could emulate, thanks to blockchain or the Bitcoin counterparty in that case, what we could emulate physical worlds. So having an item that when you have it, you own it for real, and nobody has power on that item except yourself. There was the very first idea of using blockchain, and at that time there was no similar projects using a currency, and instead of saying it's a currency, you say it's a game asset or a piece of art, or it represents something visual. So this is how I started with Spells of Genesis. And quickly, I noticed that people will need a wallet, because all the wallets were targeted toward the currency, not really NFT-like, so not owning item, but a list of currency. So you have this currency, this currency, this currency. And it would be better to see, okay, you have this picture, this picture, this picture, this picture, and being able to send to another user or trade on a decentralized exchange, like trading this item, this game item, which is not necessarily a currency. So that's how it started, and that's how we created the first collectible cards. And there was two ideas. So one would be to have it cross-compatible, because it's also a possible on blockchain is you could have same item usable in several products. So we used Moonga. The first cards were used to be on Moonga, playable, but also card that will be played in another game, a future game, Spells of Genesis, that I wanted to start. So in 2015, we released the first cards of a long series of cards that are still continuing today on the blockchain Counterparty, because at that time, Ethereum mainnet was even not released.
Right. So let me just do a quick recap. So when you first got into crypto, you were learning about Bitcoin, and you learned about the example of how you could basically use these altcoins that were having Bitcoin basically be the back end of like where the value is, and then being able to then have your own custody to use that however you like. And so you kind of use that concept over for your game, where you're noticing for Moonga, I believe, where people would be off market trying to buy and sell and create this own economy where there was monetary value attached to the game. However, for you as the owner of web and being in Web 2 and mobile gaming, you didn't want to be the custodian. You didn't want to have to be a bank where you're having to worry about all this stuff and worry about paying people back, et cetera. So you wanted to figure out a way for your players to be able to be their own custodians, and you potentially could be able to make money from them making exchanges, doing whatever, and getting a percentage of that. But you personally, or you, the company, not having to be the custodian of those types of transactions.
Yes, correct. And there was a big challenge at that time, because when I discussed with other game developers, they were not very happy with the system, or not very many people believed in the system. First, the cryptocurrency was unknown, so that was one problem, or related to drugs, or many different kind of bad press. That was one thing. But the second thing was, okay, but what's interesting from a game publisher point of view is that if it's digital and people cannot trade among each other, you can sell twice the same item to two different people. But if you allow people to trade among themselves, then you're selling once, and then two people will benefit. And one bet that I took was to say, yes, but people are likely to spend much more money if they own the token, if it's not something that may vanish at any time. So people will spend more, so it will be more interesting from a game publisher point of view to create those kind of items versus pure digital items. And if you compare to physical trading card games, for example, people who are playing both, like physical and digital, they are spending more money on physical card game, but they play more often on digital. So it means that they invest more in physical. And when you ask, people will say, yes, they spend more because it's something they own, they can touch, it's more concrete. But thinking of it, it's not necessarily that. The fact that you own something physically and it retains value, you can resell at any moment, even if you don't do it. The fact that you think, okay, I'm owning this, has a much more power and value.
For sure. And which kind of brings us to present day. So EverdreamSoft right now, you have three core products that you're kind of working on. So you have Spells of Genesis, you have Orb Explorer, and you also have Casa Token Wallet. So can you just give us an overview of currently, like, what are these three items and other things that EverdreamSoft is currently working on?
Yes. One interesting thing I said, our work is also, and we used to be always ahead of our time. One thing that happened is when we started Moonga on Counterparty, Spells of Genesis on Counterparty and issuing token, Ethereum came out. And a lot of people were saying, okay, you should migrate to Ethereum. So the thing this thing with Counterparty is over. Now there is a better tech. And especially because Ethereum was much, much more cheaper than a Bitcoin transaction at that time and faster. So everybody were saying, okay, Ethereum is cheaper and faster. So why do we care about this old crap anymore? But what I notice is the technology is not only how fast is it or how cheap is it. It's about also a governance. So using Ethereum or today Solana or EOS at some time in the past, it's also your core belief. Who should be in charge? What are the rules? Who are the rule maker? And everybody opt in for a system or another. And at that time, we saw a fork between Bitcoiners and Ethereum maximalists. And some people became Ethereum maximalists. Some people stayed Bitcoin maximalists. Then there's other chain, and you find other kind of maximalists for a new chain. But all these are opportunities or people. I see them as a country. Each country, they have their own system, their own governance system, and also their own currencies. So when you localize your game, for example, with one chain, is like bringing your game to the US, for example. So there is a certain amount of people, a certain amount of money, of revenue in this specific area of the world. But you can also have another country where people are different. They have other rules, other value, other currencies. And everything we did at this time was saying, okay, we are not moving to Ethereum, but we are doing multi-chain. We're giving the opportunity to people to own the card in the chain they want. And now today, it seems a little bit more trivial because now there's many chain and a lot of people are talking about multi-chain. But at that time, it was absolutely not trivial. You are either Ethereum or Bitcoiner, or EOS that came a little bit after, but people were not building and designing for multi-chain. And so we migrated our business a bit, we shifted our business, and I said, okay, now we are very early into a crypto thing, and people will come into crypto later on in a few years. And instead of competing with them with a game like Spells of Genesis itself, when Hollywood, when Ubisoft, Electronic Arts will come, we won't be able to compete with them because they're going to have a lot of cash, a lot of content, a lot of developer that will put in the product. So I thought, okay, we are going to build tools that are multi-chain by essence, allowing people to handle their NFTs and tokenized asset in the chain they want and to localize their content into the different chains and the different community. And that's what we're still doing today. Orb Explorer, you mentioned it. But basically, today, when you want to look at your collection or see transaction, for every chain, you need to go to Etherscan. If you want another chain, Polygon, you need to go to Polygon Scan. If you have them on Solana, another protocol. So it's not convenient from a user perspective, but also from a game developer perspective to query data on ownership of NFTs across multiple chains because you need to connect to every one of each of those services. And from the core, Spells of Genesis is based on our tool sets that we're developing internally, which are multi-chain by essence. And Spells of Genesis is compatible with 3 chains right now. Counterparty, historically, Ethereum, Clayton, which is another one, but also we are adding Binance Scan and Solana and other. And when we add a new chain in this tool, everything that uses this tool becomes compatible to this new blockchain. Whether you want to transfer, mint, exchange, play, everything is compatible. And so today, only Spells of Genesis is compatible because we're building it and testing it with Spells of Genesis. But in the future, we're gonna open it to any developer to be able to use tokenized asset NFTs with very few lines of development and code.
Real quick, I want to speak to that. I think that's a really important point. So interoperability has always been a large issue across the industry. We have a lot of these different ecosystems. Let's call them all a bunch of islands, whereas you need a lot more bridges to connect all the islands together so they play nicely. And so you're not having to go to a bunch of different explorers to be able to first see your assets and then being able to move them across chain. It's usually can be costly. It takes time and is not super efficient. And you have a lot of vulnerabilities for something to go wrong and you potentially to lose your assets. So what you've been able to create over at EverdreamSoft is a way to play your Genesis game and basically be able to move across all these chains and be able to do it in a simplified and quick way that the end user doesn't have to really figure out or do a whole lot for it to be able to move cross chain.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's what we built. That's what we are also that we also continue to build. Is this bridge to really simplify from the user perspective to the game developer perspective for integration. And the third tool that you mentioned, but it's actually not a third tool, is kind of inside the same idea in ecosystem, is Kazatokan. So Kazatokan, for example, is a wallet that is compatible to the chain that our core system use. So it's compatible today with Ethereum and Counterparty. So as a player, whether you want to use Ethereum or Counterparty, you receive both of this address when you use this wallet in a transparent manner. So you don't have to go left and right to get 10 different wallets, just one where you can use all your NFTs and interact with the game in a unified process. And Kazatokan is a stone of this Crystal Suite, which is this multi-chain tool. So I would say we have three ways at EverdreamSoft. One is the product, content, Spells of Genesis. Second is Crystal Suite that includes Orb Explorer, Kazatokan, and the open source dev tools. And there is the third part, which we didn't talk a lot yet and disclosed, but it's even more ambitious, even more cooler, and even more visionary. Because I have to say, multi-chain now is something like on everyone's mouth. But we are working on blockchain for to certify NFTs. And what is certifying NFTs is to certify the link between the asset and the token. The asset would be the game item, the piece of art, and the token is the smart contract that have the token. Because we work on multi-chain for a long time, we identify that there is a critical flaw into NFTs and tokenized assets, is this link between token and asset. Few people really catch that, but it's happening more and more. I'll give a very simple example, is I can create a piece of art and say it's unique. and issue a contract, a token on Ethereum and saying, hey, this unique piece of art, look at the contract, only one existing. I can trace back everything, perfect. But I can take a on Solana, I can create a new contract, a new token, and saying, okay, it's the same, it's linked to my piece of art. So on Ethereum, you will be able to verify that's unique. And on Solana, there is another one, which is another chain. So when you work into indexing all this chain, you understand and you notice that this link between the token and asset can be weak. And even with Ethereum, you can have two contracts that are representing the same asset, which is the link between the token and the asset can be broken. Or other example, if I take a Mickey Mouse, for example, I draw a Mickey Mouse and I create a contract on Ethereum and I sell it on OpenSea for a lot of money. Then Disney can come and say, right, okay, this token exists, fine, but this is not Mickey Mouse because we own Mickey Mouse and we never agreed to that. So they will go to OpenSea and say, hey, please remove this image. And everywhere where the image will appear, they will say, please remove. And everybody will have to comply. So you will end up with your token, right? The token will be there, impossible to take it from you. That's perfect. But you don't own the Mickey Mouse, but you are sure to have it. But the link between the asset and the token is broken. So what we're working on is a decentralized authority, a blockchain, basically, to certify the relationship between a token and asset, to certify that an asset is actually related to a certain token that is actually unique and that is not breaking any law, etc. This way, you can save yourself from a lot of scams and issues that are arising today, and that will continue to arise in the future.
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable, and I appreciate you spending the time to walk through some of the critical challenges that are happening in the world of NFTs. Like you said, the link between the true asset and the token that kind of shows where it's at and bridging that together. So you're creating a blockchain to authorize or to be an authorization tool to help solve this issue, and then to help verify these assets and these tokens that represent them are being the same no matter what chain you're going across, whether it's the same or you're going cross-chain, et cetera. Everything follows succinctly. So I think that is a really cool tool. And I think what y'all are building at EverdreamSoft is very innovative, and there are, I'm sure, even more things coming in your pipeline. But for someone who's listening to this right now, they're like, "Oh my gosh, this sounds really cool. I want to learn more, or I want to participate in the game and be able to be one of the first users of this new tool for NFT verification when it comes out." How can they learn more? How can they start to participate?
So Wakweli is the name of the chain that we're building. We have no public disclosure in terms of website and stuff like that. So the best thing is to follow EverdreamSoft Twitter. There is all info, Discord as well. Here you will discover a lot of vintage NFT, Spells of Genesis, like our whole story that we have around the cards, and also we'll disclose everything about Wakweli on those platforms. So if you are interested to know more, and if you are not afraid of things that are a bit ahead of their time, because now NFTs really it's mass, it's used by stars, and everybody knows about NFT. But when you go to this cutting edge technology, it's a bit of a leap into the way you think, the way you envision a technology that you need to do this step. So if you are courageous enough to do this step, I'll really invite you to join our social media to follow our story and be crazy as we are.
Excellent. Well, for everyone listening, if you want to rise to that challenge and do that, make sure you go participate and reach out. But Shaban, I always like to wrap up with a few things, but the main one that I want to discuss now is, as you look across, the years of you putting all of this together and being in the crypto space and seeing how much it's evolved, if you could impart 1 or 2 pieces of wisdom to yourself with the knowledge you have today to yourself when you first got started building out EverdreamSoft and kind of merging into this crypto space, what's a piece of advice you would give yourself?
An advice to myself. I can say where I could improve. I can still is the part of the communication. I should communicate more on my personal social network, because I'm really focused deep into understanding or having idea, and they stay a lot with in myself, and I would like to be able to express more. But the thing is, when you do coding, so you have a great idea, and maybe that's my issue, because I do code, and when you are a founder, it's another job. But I like coding because I want to see it live. I want to see it, so to make it, and then okay, it's done. So I would say, advice to myself: try to communicate more, even in my team, like the whole vision, and find the people to create it, rather than doing too much on myself, or refraining from communicating early on to before like proving it. So I like to prove and then communicate, but I should be more communicating on that way. Another, yeah.
That's a really good one. Effective communication. Everyone might not be able to see your vision, but if you can at least communicate what you're building towards, people can help you get there a lot faster than you potentially can yourself. And it's also, as you are building this amazing thing, being able to communicate that out to others so they know that what you're doing and want to participate and be a part of that as well. I think that's a really good reminder for a lot of people listening to this and founders, et cetera. But Shaban, you've given us a lot to think about. You've given us a lot of really good information. What's a final thought that you want to leave with all of our listeners here today?
I really believe the game changer with NFTs and all this blockchain tech is the world will change a lot. We are going to move from the creation of one company, a product created by company selling to customer, to products that are co-created, and people will add little elements. Audio compositor will create a little element, sound designer, illustrator, game designers that are coming from the community. And everybody can monetize, thanks to blockchain, their creation, and make sure that everybody gets paid for the creation. And it changed everything, because you can have stakeholders that are much more large than employees of the company or a real stakeholder of the company, but the whole community. So the DAO things that we see a lot, it's just the beginning, it's emerging. I mean, it's already crazy, and people can anticipate that there is a change, but there is really, really a big fundamental change on how project will be built, company will be run, and it's just the beginning. So
for sure. It's an exciting time to be in this. We are still building out a lot of it, and you're not late to the party. Find something you're passionate about, learn more about it, find ways to participate. And I think, Shaban, that's a great reminder. And we definitely appreciate that. As a reminder for everyone listening, ways that you can connect with EverdreamSoft, you can go to EverdreamSoft.com, go connect with them over on Twitter. And also, I believe you can connect with them on Discord and Telegram. Are there any other places you think would be good for them to go to?
Yeah, that's the main ones. We have Facebook and stuff, but of course these days that's not the best place. But yeah, follow me directly on Twitter. Don't hesitate to ask me question directly there. I said I want to communicate more. So the more impulse you give me, the more I will communicate. So don't hesitate to follow me, Shaban_Shaame as my Twitter handle.
Excellent. Well, Shaban Shaame, thank you again for spending some time with us today. We really appreciate all the information you were able to drop. And of course, to all of our listeners out there, stay cryptocurrent.